Hello, we're in the Research and Development Lab here at Fold to Cover, and today we're going to be installing a G4 Elite hard folding tonneau cover on this 2014 Chevy Silverado crew cab. The first step in the installation process is to attach the front and rear striker clamp brackets to the windshield rails. Now remember, the windshield rails have a rounded corner on one end, and that end will point towards your tailgate. So I'm going to take the rear striker clamp bracket and attach it to the windshield rail using the indicated bolt, split washer, and flat washer. We're going to only go to finger tight right now so we can make further adjustments later. For the front striker clamp bracket, we first need to insert a T-nut before we attach it to the windshield rail. Then using the same indicated bolt, split washer, and flat washer, we'll attach it to the windshield rail. Again, we're only going finger tight at this point so we can make adjustments later on. Now that we have all four striker clamp brackets attached to the windshield rails, it's time to attach the windshield rails to your truck bed rails. First, locate the hole near the tailgate of your truck and place the well nut in the hole. Then, take your windshield rails and line up the rear striker clamp bracket with the well nut you just placed. Make sure you locate the metal tab on the underside of the rail and insert it into the rear stake pocket. Line up the holes and use the indicated bolt, split washer, and flat washer to secure the rail. When you're securing with your 9/16 wrench, make sure you're applying firm downward force on the rail itself. To secure the front striker clamp bracket to the bed rails, you'll need to take the inner clamp bracket, place it behind the lip of the truck, aligned with the front striker clamp bracket. Use the indicated bolt, flat washer, and split washer, and thread it through the front striker clamp bracket into the inner clamp. While applying firm downward pressure, use your 7/16 wrench to fully secure the bolt. Now that we have the windshield rails attached to the truck bed rails, it's time to put the cover on the truck. It may be helpful to have someone assist you with this portion of the install. Once the cover is on the truck bed, make sure the end of the cover is flush with the end of the rail. Then unsnap the safety snaps and fold out the cover completely. Now that we have the cover on the truck and fully aligned, it's time to attach the cover to your truck bed rails. Start by opening the front panel and locating the hinge tab. Then take your hinge bracket and your hinge bracket shim and slide them onto the hinge tab. The hinge bracket shim goes in front of the hinge tab and needs to be seated fully at the bottom. Once you have the shim fully seated at the bottom, use the indicated bolts and finger tighten. Then complete the process for the other side. Now that we have the hinge bracket in place, it's time to attach it to your truck bed rails. We'll first need to pre-assemble the C-clamp unit. Take the jam nut and thread it all the way onto the bolt. Once that's done, thread the bolt partway into the C-clamp unit. After that, take the C-clamp unit, place it behind the lip of the truck bed, and thread the indicated bolt, split washer, and flat washer up through the C-clamp into the hinge bracket. To completely secure the C-clamp to the hinge bracket, use a 7/16 wrench and then complete the process for the other side. With the C-clamp unit fully secured to the hinge bracket, it's time to attach it to your truck bed rails. Slide the C-clamp shim between the truck bed rails and the C-clamp unit. Then thread it into place until it makes contact. Now that we have the shim in place, it's time to secure the C-clamp to your truck bed. Be very careful not to place any downward pressure on the cover during this step to prevent the hinge from binding. Using a 7/16 wrench, tighten the bolts and then secure the jam nuts. And once you've secured the jam nuts, finish off the hinge bracket by tightening the bolts with a 5/32 Allen wrench. And then complete the process for the other side. Now that we have the cover fully secured to the truck bed, it's time to install the striker bolts. Take your striker bolt and 2 flat washers and thread it into the T-nut that we placed earlier in the front striker bracket. Make sure the striker bolt is all the way at the top and finger tighten into place. Then, in the rear, you'll need to pre-thread a T-nut onto your striker bolt with the 2 flat washers, guide it up into the slot provided in the rear striker clamp, bring it to the top of the bracket, and finger tighten into place. Now we'll need to prepare the blade seals. We'll do this by using Armor All or another rubber protectant product. Simply apply it to the underside of the blade seals, and this will help the blade seals slide more easily on the rail of your truck. Now it's time for final adjustments. We're going to make sure that the striker bolts properly align with the rotary latches. With the cover open and the rotary latch in the open position, lower the cover onto the striker bolts. If the striker bolt is centered in the U-shaped groove on the rotary latch, no further adjustment is needed. If further adjustment is needed, just loosen the 2 nuts on the rotary latches and slide it forward or backwards depending on your needs. Now that we have the rotary latches properly aligned over their striker bolts, it's time to adjust the vertical placement of the striker bolts. Make sure your tailgate's open and fully close the cover. Now with the cover in the closed position, loosen the striker bolt and apply downward force on the cover, making sure the cover is flush with the windshield rail. Once it's flush, secure the striker bolt. And once you've finished, repeat this process for the remaining striker bolts. Now that we've adjusted the height of the rear striker bolts, it's time to adjust the front striker bolts. This is best done with the cover fully opened and in the stacked position. Once the cover is stacked, loosen the striker bolt, apply downward pressure to make sure the cover and the windshield rails are flush, and then tighten the striker bolt. Complete the process for the other side, and the striker bolts are complete. When adjusting the front striker bolts, make sure that the blade seal is laying flat against the bulkhead. You can do this by running your finger underneath it. Now that we have the striker bolts fully adjusted, it's time to tighten down the windshield rails. With the cover in the closed position, push the windshield rails as close to the cover as possible without touching it. Once you have them in place, pop open the cover and use a 5/16 wrench to tighten them down. The last step in the process is to verify the rotary latch timing. With the cover in the open position and the latches both in the closed position, pull the handle slowly. When you're about halfway through your motion, both latches should release simultaneously. If they release simultaneously, no further adjustment is needed. If further adjustment is needed to the rotary latch timing, simply turn this barrel nut counterclockwise for a later release or clockwise for an earlier release. Once you have the adjustment set, secure with the lock nut. And with that, your installation is complete. You're now ready to enjoy your G4 Elite fold-a-cover. Operating your new fold-a-cover is very easy. Enjoy one-handed access by lifting on the latch until the panel is fully open. To continue opening your fold-a-cover, lift on the rear 2 panels and continue the folding motion until they are stacked behind the cab of the truck. When traveling with the cover in the open position, always use the provided safety snaps. And closing the cover is just as simple. Just reverse the process. Unstack the panels from the front of the truck and make sure to close the rear panel last to engage the center latch mechanism. Another great feature of your fold-a-cover is easy one-handed access to the front of your truck bed. Simply lift on the latch to gain access to the front of your truck bed. And with the striker bolts, it closes just as easily as the rear panel. The personal caddy is the ideal companion for your G4 Elite hard-folding tonneau cover. It comes pre-assembled for easy drop-in installation. The first step of the installation process is to open the front panel and remove the front striker bolt. Once the striker bolt's removed, you're ready to drop in your personal caddy. With your personal caddy in place and properly aligned, it's time to replace the striker bolts. Once the striker bolts are set, tuck the seal underneath the third panel, and then installation of your personal caddy is complete.